Okay, so we talked about how to make an image gallery that is 3 columns per row, and how to make that vertically aligned, and how that would work for your media query. So the next concept that we're going to move forward is how do we get these nice clean thumbnails side by side. So I've already got this put together. This picks up from where we were before, but adds just a little bit. In fact, let me clean this up. Okay, so we've got our div class portfolio like we had in the last one. We've got our links wrapping around our images like we did in our last one, alt tags. And then on the images that are portrait, so that they're taller rather than wide, we've given those a class called portrait. We've got this div class thumbnail. I think I just said this, but I don't remember if I did or not. We've added a div class thumbnail that wraps around each one of our links and our images. So it's a little bit more code, but this is just a copy-paste scenario. And then I've added a div class clearer after all of our thumbnails, but before our portfolio div closes. And so breaking this down, here I'm going to move the clear up to the top because that's not going to change anything. All right, so breaking everything down, the code has changed a lot since the last version, Image Gallery 1. In fact, this is all the standard from that last demo. So if you worked along in that demo, you might want to duplicate what you have and then save a new version if you are looking to crop in on your images. So we've got our portfolio that has padding of 10 pixels all the way around. Inside of a wrapper, we've got a colored background just to see the difference between our spacing. Then we've got our class thumbnail, which is what's wrapping around each of our linked images. Set to position relative. This is very important so that we can move the image that's inside around. We've given it a width of 320 and a height of 320. So what we're doing is rather than in the last one where when you were defining a height, it was squishing the image, right now this div class is acting as a container that our image is being displayed and, for the lack of better words, cropped, because we've got this overflow hidden here. So we've got a position relative, we've got our width at 320. In fact, I like a little narrower thumbnail, so let's make that 200. We've got a margin right, controlling the margin to the right of each thumbnail. We've got a margin bottom, so that everything is got this nice grid to it. We've added a float to this, so it's floating left, so they can stack side by side nicely. Similar to our last demonstration, we've got our thumbnail class that has the pseudo class nth child applied to it, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. The margin is going to get reset to 0, so it's going to fit nicely into our grid here. And then we've got our thumbnail class, so we're saying anywhere that there's a thumbnail class, that there's an image tag inside of the thumbnail class, let's make the position absolute. We want the placement to be 50% to the left, 50% from the left, 50% from the top, and we want the height to be displayed at 100%, and the width auto. So we're not, that width auto is going to uniformly scale the image so nothing is getting squished. And then we're going to use the CSS 2D transform tag, transform and we're translating this to be down 50% and, or I guess up 50% and right 50%, because this is from the center. And so what this is essentially doing is shifting the image that's in the div. So we're centering it, we're making it the height that we have to work with, and then we're moving it back up negative 50% and back over negative 50%. So it's nice and centered, and then we're using this thumbnail div to crop our image. Now the last bit, because we're working with both vertical and horizontal images, is that thumbnail image where there's the class portrait, and there's no space here because this portrait is applied to the image class, or to the image tag. So inside the thumbnail class, where there's an image tag with the class portrait applied to it, make the width 100% and the height auto, rather than the height and width being reversed. And so then that scales everything nicely. Maybe we do, for this purpose, maybe we do need to have square images. Let's just do a test of that real quick. Looks like you can only go down so much, so before your images start to clip in. So 220 looks safe. Again, this will be different from each one of you, but just kind of keep that keen eye to your design when you're looking at it. Now, how do we make this responsive? So again, in our media queries later down in our cascade, but I'm just going to change our wrapper size here for demonstration. Let's make our wrapper 1400. So 1400 divided by 3. So let's make these 450. And then our height would need to be adjusted. Let's just go to 450 because we know that that's going to work. And then our margin would need to be adjusted, or maybe we just make this 440 and 440. A little bit more because our padding needs, so 445. It's a little closer. So just slight changes and making it smaller, so 768. 768 divided by 3. 256, so let's make this 240 by 240. Not quite. 35. There we go. So these are the measurements inside of your thumbnail that you would want to change in your media queries to get this to be responsive. All right, so undo this back to 1024, save, and I'll make these files available for you on the website. Thanks.